And we are now rolling with the first episode of the Ethically Sourced Podcast. So anyway,
Yay.
I am here with Rory and Kashi, and I am, of course, Tick, and we are going to talk today about backyard breeders.
Ugh. Disgusting. How
Backyard
could you
breeding
make
in
us do this?
general. This was your idea, Rory. Don't even. So anyway.
Nobody can prove that.
So a big one, of course, is obviously backyard breeding is a large part of today's culture in the animal world because a lot of people are not fully educated on the issues with backyard breeding. So
I would agree that is incredibly true. A lot of what I see in backyard breeding is the inability, well, not the inability, but the care that is not taken to preserve breed standards.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that comes down to, pen hip tests and stuff like that, checking for structural confirmation.
Right.
But also, we're not doing eyes, heart, stuff like that as well. So we're seeing, breeds that have historically been fairly healthy struggling to maintain a healthy breed standard.
Right. We're seeing a large influx of it, and not only that, we're seeing a lot of breeds effectively change in some of the worst ways possible as well because of the backyard breeding issues. You know, you like take French bulldogs, with all the fluffies and the merles and ugh.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. We have, and it's not even just we're seeing a lack of standards, but we're seeing them crossbreeding to have Merle French bulldogs, which is not breed standard, and somewhere along the lines, something was added because French bulldogs do not carry a Merle gene.
Exactly. A lot of situations are going where we're seeing breeders, quote unquote breeders, not the good ones, mind you, who are creating dogs just more for, obviously the money and the fad and everything like that. And with the amount of people who feed into that, it just doesn't help at all, for sure.
It really doesn't. Kashi, do you have any opinions on that?
I agree with everything. From having a German Shepherd, I know that line has been watered down terribly.
Right.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having, what would I say?
I don't think it's wrong necessarily to have something that's more on the scale of a pet quality animal.
Right. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but I think that
right.
if you're going to have a pet quality animal, you should still maintain the integrity of the breed and
right.
still do your due diligence and do your x-rays, your genetic testings and stuff like that.
Right. Follow through with a lot of the stuff make sure that everything is just the dog is healthy as it is. It could
I agree.
Yeah. Even if all it does is get proven in the show ring too, just some kind of proving at minimal. I don't need every dog to be a show ring proven dog, but as long as the ring, the field, just anything of the sorts, just to show that the dog is able to function and work or do what it was bred to do in some fashion.
Yeah, at least somewhere in that line.
Right.
And it's I find that one of the things that growing up with a family that had hunting dogs and stuff is a lot of our dogs may not have been too standard, but they still were able to successfully perform in field and out of field as family dogs, hunting dogs, and the like.
Right. Same with I also haven't grown up with a hunting dog, just different breed. A lot of the dogs that we've worked with were dogs who you could put them in the field and they do their job, but then once they're back in home or just back on the land, everything's all good. That's it. They basically have that off switch, which I feel a lot of breeders are no longer breeding for anymore, is the big issue, in my opinion.
I would tend to agree with that. I think that, we're having people that are breeding for either, what would you call it, hyper-typey dogs?
Yeah, something of that nature. Just way too high a drive for even experienced handlers to handle sometimes.
Right.
Just something that, like, you know,
Yeah,
like
they get some OCD.
right. Like, I need a dog that, you know, no matter the breed, you know, it can go from like a completely high arousal state just to completely, you know, calm in the, you know, split second that it takes to like move away from the situation or whatever if need be.
Right, and I don't expect like every dog to be like, I don't expect a dog to go from like a field trial to back home and like that dog to immediately calm down. I expect it to be, kind of a calm down period, but I expect that dog
Right.
to
Inevitably
be
calm
able
down.
to, yeah, and be like, oh crap, we're home. I don't have to be, fetching and flushing or, in the case of a protection dog, I don't have to be hyper vigilant about that.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Exactly.
And I come from the other side of working dogs with service dogs. And
Right.
it's kind of the same thing. Like, you don't want them to be hyper focused the whole time that they're working. They're going to burn
Yeah.
themselves out
True. And
real
Right.
that's
fast.
just asking for a dog to end up washed because of that, you know?
Yeah. That and as far as like breeding temperaments and everything and health, for any working dog, there's a fairly large period of training that goes into it, especially service dogs. Like, it can take up to 4 years even. So
Right.
that's like half some breeds' lifespans at
Yeah.
least.
True.
Well, and it's not
And-
even half of some of those breeds' lifespans. It could be half of
Yeah.
that dog's working life.
Right.
Yeah. And so if you get a dog from, like, say, a shelter and you have no idea what its parents were or anything, like, it could be the perfect service dog, but then it only can work 2 years after training. So that's a lot of time that went into a dog that if it was like a well-bred dog and had good health.
Not just a lot of time, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
It really
I don't
is.
think, and I don't think that's something that people realize is that, these service dogs, people sink a lot of money into them.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. I think one of the cheapest service dogs is around 12,000, which is
Oh,
a
right.
psychiatric service dog, so.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that especially, I'm going to be a little controversial here. I don't think that there is enough health testing done on doodles to have them being a service dog.
Yeah.
I find that,
Yeah.
keep the poodle out of my breed. I'm not trying to be dismissive. I know that they can be a great cross,
Right.
but it's become such a fad to cross them that we're getting structurally and mentally unsound dogs being crossed and just creating a bigger problem.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
further, you know, goes into this issue where because of that, we're seeing, like, you know, basically nobody actually ethically breeding doodles. There's no doodle out there is ethically bred because the effect that doodles initially had, no ethical breeder wants to give their dogs to a program like that at all.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Hell, honestly, if I like, even for people who would go in wanting to ethically breed a doodle and like they knew everything that they had to do and they've, like, you know, let's say they've worked with breeders before and everything, I still wouldn't want to see dogs go to them just because doodles are already such a problem, really.
Yeah. It's always kind of like a coin toss what
Yeah.
traits you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Basically.
And I think that a lot of people with the whole doodle thing is it's a low maintenance dog, it's a hyperallergenic dog, blah blah blah, X, Y, and Z, and it's no, this dog isn't low maintenance. A lot of people that groom doodles say that they are some of the worst matted dogs because their owners are, fed into this, it's a low maintenance dog,
Right.
and they tend to just have really poor behavioral issues, tend to be very bitey, very snappy, have low tolerance thresholds.
Right.
And if that's, and on the flip side, as somebody who will possibly have to end up with a service dog due to chronic illnesses,
Yeah.
I would be more likely to look at a golden retriever, a Labrador, something purebred from health tested lines.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense to have that kind of thing going because, like, otherwise, you know, you're in a situation where suddenly, anything could happen if you get a dog from like a questionable source.
Yeah. And like it could end up fine, but
Right.
you're still taking that chance. Like I've seen shelter dogs make perfect service dogs, but
Yeah.
not everybody can take a dog from a shelter and do that.
Exactly. They can't afford to sometimes, especially since not every dog is going to
Yeah.
make it. So, next thing you know, you have a situation
Exactly.
too where, is that, you don't know whether that dog is going to end up actually good in that situation or not.
Yeah, and not many people who have disabilities have the ability to train a dog
Right. That's another
either,
thing too,
so
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that um I also feel that I understand that service dogs are not cheap by any means,
Yeah.
but I would love to see more accessibility
Yeah.
for people
Oh yeah.
to have
Agreed. Like, I
service
feel
dogs.
like it would make more sense to have better accessibility while still not necessarily destroying the integrity of dogs or even forcing people to go into, a situation where they just like get a random backyard bred dog and next thing you know, like dog turns out to be like hyper aggressive 2 or 3 years down the line or something like that.
Yeah. And it's just, I understand that the doodle fad started in Australia and the guy wishes he had never done it.
Right. Like to think that something would go so bad that, you just wish you wish you could undo what you created and it's like
Yeah.
and it really goes to show just how bad it's gotten when it comes to doodles.
Yeah, and like I said, there's just so little testing and health testing done that,
Right.
my cousin spent $1,500, I think, for a mutt.
Okay.
She's gone after the male, or she's gone after joggers.
Okay.
She, if she's
Oof.
out, she kills small animals. She's chased deer,
Yeah.
and when she gets on an animal, she has zero recall.
Ah.
Absolutely none.
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah, it's like that. Just it's. So, what is this dog again? It's some kind of doodle or something you said?
Yeah, it's like a labradoodle.
Oh yeah, and see that's the thing too is
Oh yeah.
the fact that like does all that is like so bad because neither of those breeds are known for any of those issues or basically any of
Yeah.
those issues. Like you shouldn't have a lab or a poodle that is going to outright try to kill animals because that is not part of what the breed
Yeah.
was bred for. They were bred to retrieve, but not damage goods, and that means
Yeah,
that they
that's
have to
not
have a
normal.
good gentle mouth. A dog, a retriever of any sort, should not be killing the animal themselves.
Yeah. And she has absolutely zero, like, my German Shepherd.
Yep.
He will go after small animals in the yard.
Right.
But if we're out walking and he sees a deer, I can call him back and he's immediately right back by my side, and he still wants it,
Right.
but he knows he's not going to get it because no.
Exactly.
This dog,
Yeah.
we literally had to body tackle the dog,
Oof.
Man.
and because she nearly caught a fawn.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And I grew up in an area that if your dog chases deer and stuff,
Right.
your dog's liable to get shot.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I've
it's just
shot,
a hazard all around.
yeah, and I've shot dogs for chasing my deer, harassing my livestock, and
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, the majority of those dogs have been, what I would label like a bully mix of some sort.
Right. And that's another big thing is how many, just backyard bred bully mixes and bully butts and all that sort there are.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
and it just honestly, to me, it speaks a lot about society more than anything due to such.
Yeah, and they're actually one of the ones that, the pit bull mommies,
Right.
you have people that are, oh, well, my pit bull wouldn't do this, my pit bull wouldn't do that, and you get kids getting mauled by these dogs, but they're a nanny dog.
Yeah, and it's like no.
Hmm.
And also that's another big issue like between the backyard breeding is like how brainwashed some people have become about their
Yep.
breed and not able to recognize the traits of that breed.
Yep, and it's like I saw something on one of my Facebook pages. The person was like upset. They're like, "I just noticed my dog has a purple mark on their forehead. Is she gonna get stolen to be a bait dog?" And it's like, I see a kid with a washable marker, not having any respect for animals' boundaries. That's what I see
Right.
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, pretty much.
This whole like bait dog, debacle that's going on where my dog was
Right.
a bait dog. Your dog probably got into scraps but wasn't a bait dog
Right.
because
Yeah.
they're not going to risk their dogs.
Not only that, but I mean, like, the fact of the matter is, like, hate to break it to y'all, but if your dog was a bait dog, it'd be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's all there is
probably.
to it.
They don't let them walk, as the case may be. And it's another thing that you see is so
Mhm.
in a lot of these pit bull type breeds, animal aggression and dog aggression are part of the breed standard, but not
Right.
human aggression.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
And
in
when
the
you have
backyard
all
breeding,
these breeds, like, attacking humans, that's completely
Right.
out of standard, and it's similar to fashion, because, like, a lot of people do this thing where, like, you have all these, like, backyard bred pit people, pibble bommies, who are like, oh, well, I see more Goldens and Labs doing, this than yada yada. It's like, well, yeah, because they also are backyard bred. Like, that's not, going by this idea that just because it happens often means it's apparently standardized for the breed is not healthy at all. What should be standard
Yeah.
for the breed is what is written down in the breed standard itself.
well,
Yeah.
and so the thing is I want people who are like, well, I see pit bull or I see golden retrievers and labs and stuff fighting more people. I want you to look at the popularity of those dogs on a breed chart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You also have to realize how many are not from ethically bred sources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you have way more Labs and Goldens hanging around that, and plus the fact that we have this idea, preconceptualized idea that all Labs and all Goldens and such are, just naturally friendly dogs. Like, yes, they should be from ethically bred, lines, but also that doesn't change the fact that you should also, manage, socialize, and train a dog no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
Because,
I mean, even a dog you want as protection
right,
and actually doing protection work or bite work, even, like, they need to be well socialized.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
then they need to be able to know what kind of human is threat from or not,
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, not threat, but they should also know that unless they are given like the command, you're not to do shit.
Yeah.
Right.
That really needs to be
Yeah.
like, your dog has to have nerves. So, but here's the thing, you don't want a nervy dog doing it.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
like a dog that's too trigger happy.
Yeah. But you see people with these dogs that should not be bite dogs doing bite dog work, and you're like, why?
Yeah.
You're just asking for this dog to become a problem later down the line.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking specifically on bully breeds, the best example that I have is my friend's dog.
Okay.
She unfortunately did get, I forget what cross it is.
Okay.
I know it's the, like your standard bully breeds, and a mastiff.
Oh, gotcha.
And they were bred for boar hunting. And there were, I think, 7 puppies in that litter.
Okay.
And all of them throughout the years have been put down except for hers.
Oh my goodness.
And he has bitten somebody.
Oh boy.
Except it was, like, he was actually protecting her kind of
Okay.
thing.
Well,
But,
that's
like,
fair then. So you said
he's
it's...
also not trained in that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because like you said, it's a Mastiff cross or some sort.
Yeah.
Right. So that that makes sense then. To be fair. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just definitely the facts. Like basically all of them have pretty much gotten put down is telling of the. It's not really telling of the
Yeah.
breed so much as the management of the dogs themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I'm obviously not saying that, it's all in how you raise them. That is far from the truth, but
Yeah.
how you manage those dogs is a key part in it after you understand the genetics behind the dog, too.
Yeah.
Well, and you have so
and-
many people that it's like nature over, or it's nurture over nature. And like, no, you have to understand
Right?
the baseline of these breeds.
Yeah.
I can't take a border collie and turn it into a perfect pointing dog.
Yeah.
I can't take a Labrador and turn it into a perfect herding dog. I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. They have whole different skill trees.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. And we're just seeing this absolute influx of, like off dogs going to service work, because backyard breeders keep selling them as, service animals, even though they're like completely like an unfitting breed. Like, I wouldn't take, a Borzoi and just put it as a service dog. Like
Oof.
that is,
Yeah.
that is like
You would need a unicorn Borzoi for
Right.
that.
and that's the big thing. Also, is like I think a lot of people tend to glorify unicorn dogs
Yeah.
these days. It's like, and the worst part is nobody educates about them, because like it's one thing when you're like, oh yeah, my unicorn dog from the shelter happened to work out, but I would not normally recommend this, versus just, oh yeah, my dog came from the
Yeah.
shelter and it's a service dog, and it's like, well, that doesn't give us anything other than you're basically just using this situation to further an issue that could, be easily preventable, because a lot of people will suddenly go to a shelter and think, oh, I can do the same exact thing, and next thing you know, they
Yeah,
can't.
it'll be cheaper
Right.
and like I can actually afford it. But like no.
Exactly.
I have my Belgian Malinois and she is a unicorn. I would never really recommend the breed for service work, but she just happened to be very good at it and she did eventually wash out 4 breed traits
Right.
once she hit puberty.
True.
Which that is also the standard of the breed
Right.
for most people. But
Yeah.
like she has a fantastic off switch. I got her from a breeder that is actually my friend
Oh yeah.
who has them tested and actually breeds them for farm work.
Okay, that's nice.
And she was just I don't know what happened with her.
Yeah.
So like people see her out and about and she's really well trained and I have her vest on and everything and then like I recommend against it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know. I think
But
there's a
that's
lot
kind of
truth to
awesome that you got. That you managed to get a unicorn dog.
Right.
My-
and that it at least
Yeah.
My
worked
golden
out for a while.
retriever. My golden retriever that I had growing up was definitely a unicorn dog.
Yeah.
She was backyard bred.
Yep.
The person bred specifically traits for smaller, very red golden retrievers. That's what she did. She didn't do any health testing.
Yep.
And my golden retriever just happened to be a saint with all animals, with children, with people. I think this dog in her entire 14 years of life growled twice.
Yep.
Yeah. That sounds like my actual service dog, which I got a lab.
Yeah.
Also from a breeder.
Right.
And they have a long line of like they're English labs. So
Gotcha.
they're show dogs.
Yeah.
A little calmer.
Right. Than the field bred labs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which definitely have that they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, still gentle as hell with the mouth, but they'll go and grab that duck for you in a split second.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I don't think people realize just how wonderful fieldies can be.
Right.
Mhm.
They're great for
But-
owners who are able to just be active and like want to be active. And like I know someone who actually has a field bred lab that thankfully he's already very active and was with I think it was like one of his previous dogs that was just like a random rescue dog, but
Right.
they're doing great together because he was prepared going in and stuff, and the dog's doing great as
Yeah.
well. It's like very up to standard on the typical Labrador temperament that you should expect from a well-bred lab.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we definitely need to push more though for ethical breeding, and like the tough part is like the amount of pushback though from the general public.
It's crazy. It is legitimately crazy just how many people are like, well, I don't want that, because of X, Y, and Z, and it's like,
Right.
Adopt,
So-
don't shop mentality.
Right. And it's like initially
which I think
that-
is super harmful.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah,
initially
it
was
really
a good,
is.
Initially, it had a good message behind it. Like, you know, when you consider
Yeah.
the original message of ADS, which is, you know, like the initial message that it was supposed to send and that it, you know, had sent was if you can afford to adopt, you know, a dog that you're ready to adopt and understand that it might come with problems, then do so over shopping for a dog if possible. You know,
Yeah.
like ADS never was meant to be a all breeders bad situation. It just turned into that,
Right.
and now it's like toxic as can
Yeah.
be. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of issues with ADS for sure, and then you know it's like you have certain like you know I hate to say it, but you have certain people within breed groups or you know breeds that just like that are also really making it a problem, like the doodle people, the pibble mommies, you know that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I know in a lot of well-bred groups, ADS is like, you know, a cab.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's definitely reached that point of toxicity where ADS just no longer holds any meaning to me personally, especially. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I'm always gonna, you know, I'll always agree that like if you can afford to adopt a dog, then by all means do so. But ideally, I'd like to
Yeah.
see people go to ethical breeders more because if the whole world were to educate themselves enough and go to just ethical breeders, not only would there not be enough dogs for everyone who wanted an actual dog, but we'd also see a much less issue of dogs ending up in shelters in the first place,
Yeah.
if even at all. Like we, you know, realistically, we could see a complete shutting down of shelters across the country if people were to just suddenly collectively all go to ethical breeders alone
Right.
for their
Right.
dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a tough part is like the and a lot of people I think my issue is like how many people also just willingly go to backyard breeders.
Yeah, as somebody who did
Right.
my first dog that was like mine that I went and found,
Gotcha.
I trusted my friend because she had more experience and she
Okay.
found a breeder for me. I
Yeah.
think it might have even been on like Facebook or Craigslist or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they had dolled themselves up to look like they were breeding for a family member's, like for police dogs or something.
Oh, gotcha.
Like they bred to a dog that was in police work or something like that. So
Right.
like it looked legit. And then it it was bad.
Yeah.
It was
definitely not
really
legit.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned.
Right, and it's
Yeah.
wild how easily some backyard breeders can like disguise these things, because you know, it's
Right.
Yeah.
like, you know, you have people that like they want to go to an ethical breeder, but then sometimes they don't put, you know, they don't really like really scan that breeder enough. Then
Yeah.
you know, and sometimes those breeders hide it so well that only one or two things is off, and to the general public who's not really understanding of that like level of, you know, scanning, you know, they can easily miss those,
Yeah.
and then suddenly they get a backyard bred dog, and they're like, oh my god, you know, my own dog just, you know, like bit me. You know, it's like
Right, and then
you
they're
know,
like, I will never trust another breeder. Adopt, don't shop. So you got backyard breeders
Right.
who shittily bred dogs are driving
Yeah.
people to the adopt, don't shop because they're
Exactly.
bad experiences.
right. and
Yeah.
It's a cascading waterfall effect.
yeah, it's just constantly in a vicious cycle, you know, basically. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with, like I had some person who like there's like the whole thing of like oh my mother was a Chihuahua breeder and like you know now she's not because ADS is like well your mother was probably a backyard breeder, that's why it had like you know it's like this whole bad experience because you know she the person said something about like bad experiences. I'm like well maybe it's because your mom was you know a backyard breeder and she was getting absolutely slammed by the actual ethical breeding community of Chihuahuas.
Yeah.
Right, but you also see people who are ethical breeders saying that they're having issues because of ADS.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you know, then that's the thing, because then suddenly those people like that you know go to ADS, you know, they're like, oh, adopt, don't shop, and then you know, yeah, it's affecting the ethical breeders in the communities because of that.
Yep.
Yeah. there's a little bit of a mob mentality that goes on in that community.
Yeah, there absolutely
There really is. I would say that dog communities are probably, unless you are prepared to deal with it, are incredibly toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, in all honesty, just in general, dog communities as a whole, like, even among the ethical breeding groups, I've seen some pretty crazy stuff that I don't necessarily agree with, you know?
Bro, depending on, like, what breed you have,
Yeah.
like, your community can be, like, I have a shepherd, so
Right.
in the
Oh,
shepherd
right,
breed
true.
community,
Yeah.
and, like, I have racists, I have
Oh.
bootlickers,
Oh boy. Yeah.
I have Trumpers, and they're like,
Oh,
oh yeah, and I'm like, no.
Right.
I am a queer lady with a German Shepherd. I know.
Right. You know?
And it's people don't realize that, you know, a lot of people are like, I wanted to get into Shepherds and stuff, but like I couldn't get past like what people were like supporting and stuff.
Right.
Like that's fair.
That's kind of how it ended up with me, because, like, the first ever experience I had with an ethical breeder was I got mentored by a German Shepherd breeder. You
Yep.
know, and, like, I learned all the fun stuff, like, how to, like, work the dog in the ring, and, like, you know, I started, you know, it was almost at a point where I was about to actually go, you know, take one of their dogs into an official ring for them. Just, I just, things kind of fell out, because, like, I had college work and stuff, and some other things going on
Right.
suddenly. So, sadly, I couldn't keep up with that, but, you know, it's like, I nearly got there, but then, like, later on, you know, I sort of looked into the Shepherd community and realized just how insane it can be. I'm like, you know, I think
It
I'll
is
pass. I'll just stick to my
Horribly toxic.
Right.
Toxic, like
I'll just stick to my
Yeah.
hounds at this point.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I don't
man.
want to name names or anything, but
Yeah.
I met with one of the top German Shepherd
Ooh.
show line breeders, and
Okay.
she was very nice.
Okay.
But definitely definitely a gatekeeper.
oh yeah.
Her puppies were fantastic.
Yeah.
But
And that's like the worst part is you have these beautiful dogs coming from these shitty people and you're like,
Right.
I want, but I don't.
Right. And now in all
Yeah.
fairness, I do agree in some level of gatekeeping, but it's definitely based on, like, the individual situation and what degree the individual person is trying to gatekeep. You know.
yeah.
Like if somebody goes, you're a new beginner, you're a new beginner owner.
Right.
I'm not gonna recommend a sight hound for you.
Exactly.
No.
I feel like that's an appropriate form of gatekeeping.
Like I want what's best for my dogs or any animal I produce.
Right.
And I'm going to say no because you lack the experience. However, if I am a good breeder, if I'm an ethical breeder, I should go, but I am willing to take you under my wing and work with you.
Right.
Yeah.
At
I'm
least
willing to
find a
teach
way
you.
To make it work.
Yeah,
Especially
like
if
a
it's-
mentorship. Like, you
Right.
know, maybe we make sure that your place is secure enough and you take a dog home for a weekend and you go, oh shit, man, no, I don't want this.
Right. You know. And some.
See, that's what happened with my Belgian Malinois.
Okay.
She went to a different home first, and that home
Oh, gotcha.
was doing everything wrong.
Oh,
Even
okay.
though my friend, the breeder,
Yeah.
was teaching them, and then they proceeded to
Yeesh.
not listen once they actually got the dog.
Yeah, that happens a lot too.
So-
As I notice, which definitely is like a bummer.
Yeah,
And
but
it's like, sorry, Kashi, continue. I didn't mean to cut you
oh,
off.
I was just gonna say, but at least like then she went to a knowledgeable trainer,
Right.
and like
Right.
I could undo most of the damage that happened in 2 weeks. Except now she cannot be crate trained, but that's it.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, I will say my German Shepherd, he came to me absolutely crate trained. He is wonderful in the crate.
Yeah.
And I love my dog. I will probably not get another Shepherd.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't love the breed. It's
Yeah.
because that right now, with my chronic illnesses and stuff, it is not the right fit for me.
Right. Just
Yeah.
a little too much in that situation. And it's, you know. Plus, I doubt the community is helping either.
It's really not. It's really not. And you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I said, you know, being a queer white woman
Right.
with chronic illnesses that most people don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily what the breed, the gatekeepers of the breed are looking for.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
You know, and
So.
another breed I find is really bad is the poodle people. Like, listen,
That's so dramatic.
Right? I think standard poodles are amazing dogs. There's no denying that, but
Right.
some of the people in those communities are just horrid people in terms of just their overall like
Yeah.
personalities. Like, I've come into the amount of people who they have standard poodles, but then they're like, it's not they don't even go just. I'm not a big fan of Goldens or Labs. They just outright say, I hate Goldens and Labs. And they don't
Right.
even have a valid reason for it either, most of
Yeah.
the time. Like, they never seem to have a valid reason other than just, because I'm a standard poodle owner, I hate Goldens and Labs.
Okay, so
I don't see
hot
why
take
it's-
on this.
Yeah.
Hot take on this.
All right.
I feel that Goldens and Labs are a more versatile dog than poodles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
Like,
agree.
In my opinion, poodles are a little too specialized to specific things. And my issue, and I think kind of that's why you have this issue with the versatile poodle people who try to, like, put their dogs on livestock and say, oh, my poodle's hurting. It's like, no, your poodle's just chasing the livestock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like-
And
Like,
so
literally, if someone were to, like, bring, like, a standard poodle into a pasture, like, and, like, just send it off on my cows under the premise that they're teaching their dog to herd, and, like, I just went out there, I'd shoot the dog, not gonna lie. I'd be like, nope, that thing's chasing my livestock.
Yeah.
well, and so
There's
one of
no
the
way that
things
dog's
that
hurting.
gets me is
Right.
there was a young boy who was getting his showmanship points
Yep.
in the ring.
Yeah.
And it was for him, it was for him and his dog. It wasn't a confirmation class. It was a showmanship class. Okay?
Okay.
And the dog had an Old English sheepdog cut.
Okay.
And poodle people were tearing this 11-year-old boy apart for his choice of cut on his dog.
Oh, jeez.
Like, they
Yeah.
were bullying a little kid over his choice of cut for his dog.
Right, and that's just
It's
all
not a
right.
confirmation show. The
Yeah.
dog doesn't need to be groomed to standard. It's all about how that kid handles the dog.
Right,
Yeah.
WTF, people.
Exactly.
WTF.
Yeah.
And it's like, who's
I
this-
have seen that a
Yeah.
lot in show, like,
Right.
of any sort.
Yeah, and it's sad to know that kind of thing goes on, in certain breeds especially, like, because, like, obviously there's always going to be toxic people in every, group or anything you go to, but some are definitely just way more excessive and over the top than others, hands down.
Well, and some people were calling for the kid to be DQ'd
Oh my gosh.
Ugh.
over.
Jeez.
And I'm like, okay, it's showmanship. If that kid wanted to walk in there with, like, a Borbell Buceron Chihuahua mix, he can.
Right.
All right, he could walk in there with the ugliest dog known to mankind, and as long as that dog and him perform beautifully and perfectly,
Right.
it doesn't matter that this dog looks like it was glued together from 5 different dogs that went missing in an hour in the Craigslist missing ads. Like,
Exactly.
nobody's gonna care about Frankendog.
Right. Like, they just want to see how well the dog and the handler work together.
Yes.
The Chimera from Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it's, so unfortunately,
So-
though, that
Some
is time.
stories.
And it's like,
Yeah.
my golden that I had, my unicorn dog, was not breed standard.
Yeah.
She was so red she looked like an Irish setter.
Yep.
Oh boy.
And she was an
Yeah.
eighth of an inch
Right.
tall enough to barely meet the breed minimum size for a female golden retriever.
Yep.
Okay, so she was tiny. But I could put her in a ring on a shoelace, and I could tell a kid how to handle her, and she would perform phenomenally every single time.
Right.
She took children with learning disabilities through 4-H shows to the state level
Yep.
because
Damn.
she was so phenomenal.
Nice.
I couldn't go to any of her shows because
Yeah.
if she knew I was in the crowd, she'd listen or watch me for commands. I could
Yeah.
command her from like a distance away, like I sit, stay, down, heel, all of it,
I love
and she would
that.
perform phenomenally.
Nice.
And one of the girls had shakes so bad, had horrible handshakes,
Yeah.
that she literally showed my dog on a leather shoelace.
Yep.
because it was like all my other leashes were like half-inch wide leather. She couldn't hold that. She couldn't neatly nest it into her hand to hold it, so she showed on a leather
Aw.
shoelace.
Yeah.
A leather shoelace with a clip. That's what she showed in.
Yep. Nice.
I love
And-
that though.
Yeah.
Right, and this is a dog that like poorly bred. Like I said, unicorn dog.
Yeah.
Unicorn dog.
Right.
Yeah.
Little kids that were learning to walk would use her to pull up on, and she would walk next to them.
Yeah.
Aw.
I felt so bad because she loved to lick the babies. She was like, "Oh, babies, I love you. You taste so
Yeah.
delicious." And the babies would go home a little like chapped and raw. But my poor golden retriever would have no fur down her back because of the kids holding onto her back,
Yeah.
and she never minded. And it's, obviously we didn't like leave kids unattended with her,
Right.
but like when we
Yeah.
were like, okay, the
Exactly.
dog's looking a little stressed. Take the kid away, and the dog would come back like, "No, my baby, give me
Right.
back my baby!"
Yeah.
Like,
basically like Ember, like she of course loves babies and kids. Like that one time
Unicorn
she like
dog.
laid her head in your friend's baby's lap or whatever or something.
yes, and she was
Aw.
just like, this baby could be my baby.
Right.
I love this baby.
Oh my goodness, but yeah, because like when my niece is out walking, Ember likes to go hang out with her too, and so does Sam. But he's more he'll stick with me more. So
Well, Sam is a boy, and
yeah, pretty much.
boys are notoriously known for being up the asses of their people.
Right, classic boy dog thing.
It really is. And then people are like, "I don't understand it." I'm like, it's a boy dog thing.
Right.
It's like, it's not like, hot girl summer thing, it's boy dog thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Although unfortunately we are gonna have to call it a wrap because that is time. we actually
Aw,
went a little bit over, but still,
Oh,
whoops.
that was
Oops.
still that was definitely a fun one.
It definitely was. I think next time we should
Yeah.
Explore backyard breeders of more than just dogs.
I think we should-
let's-
kind of branch into it.
Yeah.
we should do cats.
Yeah, we could.
Oof. Yeah.
Yep. So we will
should do
see
cats.
that. We will see to that in the next episode of the
Yeah.
Ethically Sourced podcast. Thank you everyone for coming by.
Bye.
Bye.